Gemini, have you noticed something strange in the air lately? A glance that chills your spine, a casual remark that somehow tightens your chest. Something is shifting within your family, a quiet, subtle energy, as if someone is holding a piece of your past in their hands, not to protect it but to control it. You once believed they understood you, that what's gone was just memory. But someone very close has been keeping your old mistakes like secret cards, knowing exactly where your cracks lie, waiting for the perfect moment to press them. To this person, your past isn't over. It's a weapon, a way to make you question yourself. Gemini, you are the soul of words, of memory, of intellect. But that also means you are deeply sensitive to whispers, to offhand comments that seem harmless. You listen, you analyze, you feel, and then you carry it all inside. But you must remember, not everyone deserves to know your full story. Some people wait quietly for the chance to use it against you, especially when your light grows too bright for their comfort. If you've ever felt that someone in your family is trying to use your past to silence you, leave a comment below. No one can use my past against me. Let it be your affirmation, a declaration to the universe that you're reclaiming your own power. Now, pour yourself a warm cup of tea or your favorite coffee. Sit down, take a deep breath, because today's story, it may make you look back at things you thought you'd forgotten, but in truth, they've just been waiting quietly in your heart. Part 1. Opening. Emotional hook and cosmic signal. Gemini, have you noticed something strange in your home lately? No shouting, no arguments yet. The air feels heavier somehow. A subtle unease sits in your chest. A fleeting glance. A familiar smile that hides something beneath it. Something that freezes you for just a second. Maybe it was only a small joke. But when night falls, that sentence keeps echoing in your mind. They still remember. How long has it been since you truly felt at ease in your own house? You still laugh. Still talk. Still try to keep everything normal. But a part of you stays alert. As if your soul is whispering, pay attention. This energy isn't safe anymore. Gemini, you are the soul of connection. You can read energy through a look, a tone of voice, the silence between words. You feel before others even notice. But because of that, you often doubt your intuition. You tell yourself, I'm just being too sensitive. But no, the universe never whispers without meaning. If your heart is warning you, pause and listen. It's possible that someone in your family, someone who once shared dinner with you, who once comforted you when you stumbled, is holding on to something from your past. Not to understand you, but to have power over you. They remember your mistakes. They remember your tears. The moments you thought were forgiven, they kept them as invisible strings to pull whenever you start to rise too high. Have you noticed, Gemini, that every time you talk about something that makes you happy, they slip in one small line? Yeah, but remember when you used to? Just one sentence enough to stop you in your tracks, to remind you you're never allowed to outrun your past. You laugh it off, change the subject, but your heart knots up inside, because you know that wasn't just a joke. It was control disguised as familiarity. That wasn't memory, it was manipulation. Gemini, you carry two worlds inside one soul. One is brilliant, clever, adaptable, radiant. The other is tender, intuitive, forgiving. And it's that second part that makes you vulnerable to those closest to you. You love with reason, but you forgive with your heart. They know this. They know you'll stay silent to keep the peace. They know you hate confrontation. And the moment you stay quiet, they feel they've won. But today, The universe sends you a sign. You don't have to live in that silence anymore. You don't have to pretend you've forgotten what still hurts. Because sometimes, silence itself becomes the slow poison that kills your spirit. Gemini, no one has the right to use your past to make you feel small. Yes, you've made mistakes, but you've also stood up again. You've been lost, and you've found your light. Your past isn't a weapon. It's proof of your strength, a kind of wisdom they can't yet understand. If you've ever felt that someone in your family quietly uses your memories to control you, leave a in the comments as your affirmation that I see it now, and subscribe, because the next part will help you understand why this energy runs so deep and how to free yourself from it. Now, pour yourself a warm cup of tea or your favorite coffee. Sit down. Relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath, because what comes next isn't just your story, it's the beginning of your journey to remember this truth. No one, not even those who share your blood, has the right to use your past to make you forget your worth. Part 2. Conflict. When the past becomes a tool of control. Gemini, do you remember the last time you truly trusted someone? When you opened your heart completely, no walls, no defenses, simply believing that family would never hurt you. You once thought they'd understand, protect your secrets, and hold them as an act of love. But one day, in the middle of an ordinary conversation, they said just one sentence, and in that moment, you knew they didn't keep it out of love. They kept it for power. For Gemini, every relationship is built on words and trust. When you share your pain, you're handing someone a fragile piece of your soul, honest, raw, unguarded. You believe that if it's family, they'll use that truth to protect you, not wound you. But it's often those closest to you who strike the deepest, not through actions, but through perfectly timed words, delivered with quiet precision. They don't have to shout. They don't even need to argue. A small reminder, a smirk, a phrase whispered in front of others. Remember what you said back then? Do you really think you've changed? Just a few soft words enough to silence you completely. They don't attack your actions, Gemini. They attack your memories. The place where you are most sincere. The place you thought was safe. They twist your truth into evidence against you. And worse, they make you punish yourself with it. You start to doubt your worth. Maybe I deserve this. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'll never be good enough. Each word becomes a needle in your mind, pushing you further into silence, until you no longer recognize your own voice. Astrologically, you are ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, memory, and thought. This gift allows you to sense energy in every tone, every pause, every shift in someone's voice. But your sensitivity is both your strength and your curse. Because a single misplaced word, a vague accusation, can haunt you for nights. The universe gave you the gift of language and the burden that comes with it. When someone distorts your story, it doesn't just feel like betrayal. It feels like they've pierced through your very essence. To others, words are just sound. To you, they are energy, memory, and truth. People forget, but you don't. You remember the tone, the look in their eyes, the breath between their words. And you replay it, over and over, asking, why did they say that? Was it my fault? You analyze until you're exhausted, and in that spiral of questions, you lose your own peace. You wanted to explain, to clarify, to make them understand. But the more you spoke, the smaller you felt. Because they weren't listening to understand, they were listening to react. They didn't want healing, they wanted to stay right. And so, you chose silence. But Gemini, every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you sacrifice a piece of your soul. Every time you smile to avoid discomfort, You teach them that they can hurt you without consequence. Be honest, how many times have you said, "It's okay," just to keep things calm? How many times have you carried guilt that was never yours to bear? How many times have you let them use your past like invisible chains around your heart? Gemini, you are not wrong for loving. You are not wrong for trusting. But maybe it's time to learn this. Not everyone deserves to hold your softness. If someone in your family has ever made you feel small with their words, if they've ever brought up your past to make you feel guilty, comment one word below. Yes, not for revenge, but as a signal to the universe that you are ready to heal. Take a deep breath. You are not alone, Gemini. The universe is watching, and you are learning to rise again, not through resistance, but through the calm strength of someone who finally knows their worth. Part 3. Detailed analysis. The 3 Gemini groups and the types of people they face. Gemini, not all of us carry the same kind of wounds. Under the stars, each phase of your birth carries a distinct vibration, a lesson, a karmic theme, a spiritual rhythm that shapes the kind of people you attract and the type of energy you must learn to navigate. Read this slowly because somewhere between these lines, you may recognize yourself. Gemini born May 21, May 31. When memory becomes a lesson from parents, those born in the early Gemini phase carry the energy of the perceptive child, curious, intuitive, and emotionally alert. From a young age, you learned how to read moods, how to adjust yourself to keep peace, and how to be good so others wouldn't be upset. But ironically, the people you most wanted to please are often the ones who made you feel never enough. They may be parents or older family members, rooted in traditional beliefs. Children should listen. Don't argue. You talk too much. And yet, for Gemini, speaking is healing. Words are your bridge, your way of processing and connecting. When you spoke, you weren't arguing, you were silently begging, "Please, hear me just once." You grew up with labels. Too talkative, too changeable, unreliable. So you learned to swallow your truth. Now, every time you want to speak from the heart, your throat tightens, afraid that honesty will disappoint someone. Gemini, you need to remember this. You were never too much. You were simply never heard correctly. Those who use your past to silence you are afraid of your growing wisdom. They can't stand that you're no longer obedient, that you're awakening. But the universe reminds you, you were not born to stay silent. You were born to speak truth softly, but powerfully. Gemini born June 1, June 10. When competition becomes emotional warfare, mid-season Geminis carry stronger, bolder energy, ambitious, expressive, determined to prove their worth. But this same fire often attracts family dynamics built on rivalry and comparison, especially with siblings, cousins, or relatives who constantly compete. Since childhood, you've heard too many phrases like, "Why can't you be more like your brother? Look how well she's doing and you." So you pushed harder, you achieved, you proved yourself. But somehow, it's never enough. Every victory is followed by a reminder. Remember that time you failed? You're just lucky. Don't get too confident. They don't realize how those words pierce deeper than any knife. You smile, but your heart contracts. Because when a Gemini hurts, they hide it behind humor and grace. You never wanted to be praised, you just wanted to be seen. You just needed someone to say, "I see your effort." But instead, they chose sarcasm, comparison, or condescension. Anything to keep you beneath them. Gemini, you are not here to prove yourself to anyone. You are not a reflection of their standards. You are the reminder that light never asks for permission to shine. Gemini born June 11, June 20. When love becomes a test of faith. Late-season Geminis are deep, soulful, emotionally intricate. You live through love, and you love through truth. When you care, you share everything: your fears, your flaws, your stories, your most fragile pieces, believing that vulnerability equals intimacy. But when trust breaks, those same words you once offered in love are turned into weapons. One phrase, one secret, one old mistake thrown back at you in anger, making you feel unworthy of being loved fully. So, you try to explain. You clarify. You defend. But the more you speak, the more you lose yourself in the maze of your own logic. Gemini, sometimes selective silence is your greatest strength. Not the silence of fear, but the stillness of understanding. You no longer need to prove anything. Those who use your past to manipulate your emotions fear one thing: your clarity, because once you see through them, their control dissolves. When you choose calm over reaction, they lose power. 3 Gemini groups. 3 wounds. But one truth binds them all. You loved too deeply, trusted too sincerely, and spoke too openly to those who didn't deserve your full story. Yet that's not weakness. It's proof that your heart is still pure enough to believe in goodness. If this resonates, comment your birth date below, so I can create a dedicated message for your energy group. And don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss the next message the universe has for Gemini, because the next one might be yours. Part 4. Awakening. When you stop fearing the past. Gemini, it's time to pause, take a deep breath, and truly look within. For years, you've tried to forget, to suppress, to convince others and yourself that you're fine. But deep inside, a part of you still trembles at the thought of the past, trembles at the idea that what once broke you could come back and shake the fragile piece you've rebuilt. But listen closely. Your past is not a sentence, it's evidence of your evolution. Every mistake, every fall, every scar you once called shame, is proof that you have lived fully, truthfully, and courageously. Others may look at your past and only see your failures. But the universe sees the lessons, the growth, the awakening. When someone tries to hurt you by reminding you of who you once were, it's because they only know half the story. They saw your fall, but not your rise. They saw your weakness, but not the fire that helped you stand again. They know you were silent, but they never realized that silence was not surrender. It was you learning to observe, to forgive, to love yourself enough, to no longer need to explain. Astrologically, Gemini carries the energy of duality, light and shadow. You're not fake, as some may think. You're simply complex, layered beyond what others can comprehend. One part of you believes, loves, and forgives freely. The other, scarred and wiser, stays alert, cautious, guarded. You live between worlds, empathy and intellect, chaos and clarity, and because of that, you understand something most people never do, that humanity isn't black or white. We all falter. We all lose direction, but only the brave dare to face their own darkness and still choose light. Gemini, you are one of those souls. You don't need to hide the parts of you that have been hurt, because those very parts made you whole. They taught you boundaries. They gave your compassion depth. They turned your sensitivity into strength. So if they try to wound you with words, meet them with silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of power. If they bring up your past, to make you small, smile softly and say to yourself, I survived that. And now I'm stronger than ever. No need to argue. No need to defend. Because silence holds a power that those who seek control will never understand. The universe is teaching you a profound truth. Freedom doesn't come from erasing the past. It comes from making peace with it. When you can look back at your memories without flinching, you've already reclaimed your soul. When you can speak about your past without pain, you've already turned wounds into wisdom. You once thought you had to be perfect to be loved, but perfection never made anyone real. It's your cracks, your tears, your confessions, your survival that make your light unforgettable. Imagine the universe as a vast canvas. Your past mistakes are the darker brushstrokes that make today's colors glow brighter. Without shadow, light can't be seen. Without the past, you would never know the strength you carry now. So, Gemini, stop fearing your story. Stop fearing the whispers of others. No one can tell your story better than you. They may hold fragments of your memory, but you hold the entire masterpiece. You are the one who lived it, healed it, and found light again. And that is what freedom truly means. If your heart trembles as you hear this, that's your awakening. It's the universe saying, it's time to release your old fears and begin again. Softer, yet stronger than ever. Habla Grace. Non 2, 10. End of 10. 10. Av. If you're ready to reclaim your voice and stop letting anyone control your truth, comment below. My voice is my power. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is only the beginning of your healing journey. The next chapter will show you how to live with your past and still shine brighter than ever. Part 5. Release and Action. The liberation of your voice. Gemini, you were never born to be silent. You were born to tell your story in the voice of freedom. It's time to understand this. No one has the right to keep you locked inside the room of your past. You've lived it. You've paid for it. You've learned the lessons your soul needed to learn. So why still bow before memories, or before people who use them to make you forget your worth? Those who use words to make you feel guilty are simply afraid. Afraid of the powerful version of you that's rising. They want you small, so they can feel safe. But Gemini, you were never meant to shrink. You are air movement, transformation, expression. You don't belong to silence, you belong to truth. Starting today, gently but firmly, draw boundaries with those who wound you through your past. Not to create distance, but to protect truth. Boundaries aren't separation, they're your soul saying, I respect myself enough not to be hurt again. If they once made you afraid to speak, start speaking again. Not to argue, but to set yourself free. If they once made you ashamed of your past, retell your story. Your way. Not as a list of mistakes, but as a record of growth. You don't owe anyone a filtered version of your truth because you're no longer who you once were. Remember this. Those who truly love you will never use words to make you feel small. Real love doesn't need control to feel strong. It creates safety. If someone can only feel powerful by dimming your light, that's not love. That's fear. And you are no longer responsible for healing their fear by sacrificing your peace. The universe doesn't want you standing in the courtroom of your past, pleading for forgiveness. It wants you walking into the light of freedom, shoulders back, heart open, saying, I am not who I was yesterday. I am grateful for who I was because they gave me the strength to be who I am now. Forgive not to forget, but to release. Rewrite your story with your own voice, because Gemini's greatest power isn't intellect or logic, it's the divine ability to turn pain into message, brokenness into wisdom, and silence into freedom. If you've made it here, this is not coincidence. The universe brought you to these words to remind you of one thing. You deserve peace. Let the light of truth touch your heart. Breathe deeply and feel it. The wind has shifted. No one can use your past to hold you anymore. No one can make you doubt yourself again. Gemini, you are the voice of freedom, the soul of awakening, and the messenger of a new vibration. One of forgiveness, love, and awareness. So let's end today's journey with a simple ritual. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and say slowly, clearly, I forgive my past. I release myself from every distorted memory. I return to who I truly am, free, peaceful, and whole. If this message touched you, comment below. I forgive my past. Let the universe know you've chosen the path of light, the path of freedom. And don't forget to subscribe, because each week we'll continue decoding the secret messages the universe sends to Gemini, so every video becomes not just a message, but a step on your soul's awakening journey. After walking through this entire journey, you've come to understand something profound. Not everyone deserves access to your memories, and not every past is worth carrying. You've grown enough to look back at your mistakes with gratitude instead of fear. Because the past is no longer a chain, it's proof of your soul's evolution. The greatest lesson from today's message is this. Learn to set boundaries. Learn the power of selective silence. And most of all, learn to stand on the side of your own truth. Life doesn't ask you to be perfect. It simply asks you to be real, to live authentically, to speak your truth without fearing judgment. When you begin to thank the past instead of resenting it, when you stop blaming others and start seeing everything as part of your soul's education, you'll realize every pain that once broke you was just the final test before awakening. And the reward for those who walk the full path is freedom, the kind of peace no storm can shake. If this video touched something within you, if you feel that something heavy inside has finally lifted, comment below. I choose peace over pain. It's more than a phrase. It's a commitment, a sacred promise to yourself. From this moment on, you choose peace over pain, freedom over fear. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so whenever the universe has a new message for Gemini, you'll be the first to receive it. Each video here is not just an astrology reading, it's a mirror, reflecting back to you who you truly are. Clearer, stronger, and more loving with every step. Thank you for staying until the end of this journey. Always remember, you were never born to be silent. You were born to tell your story in the voice of freedom. See you in the next video, where the universe will send Gemini another message, crafted just for the path your soul is walking now.